am Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit. All right, y'all, it is Saturday night. It's 11:03 p.m. in the great Kitsap County. It's 82 degrees. It is hot out there. Really hot. Shout out to the G2 team, just returning back from CenturyLink. They said it was plus 100 degrees inside the stadium. Don't know if the Sounders won or not, but they are a pretty strong team. All right, I appreciate that. Hey there, Mr. Den, are you hearing our background music there?
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
So they just got back from the event, stopping off to get a little treat. And, you know, normally our show starts at 9:30 on Saturdays. And yes, tired, tied in, yes. I think you mean to say tired there. Normally our show starts at 9:30. But again, the work must get done. Oh, I still got my badge on. Go ahead and take my badge off. So I thought it might be cool to talk about my experience this afternoon. I'm also going to come to you a little bit different because it is super hot inside this house. So you won't be able to see me. It'll be too dark for me. If I turn the light on outside, the bugs will attack me. But you will be able to hear me. Score game was a tie. Okay. All right. I think they're still undefeated, right? At home. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is a true story. All right. So let me go ahead and get this here. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Wow, it's just being stubborn. That's okay. All right. So as you know, on Monday, we start our food program through the office, OSPI, the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. We will be providing meals to children in the county that are eligible for free or reduced lunch. I'm going to go ahead and step out on the porch here. So if your family qualifies for free or reduced lunch, go ahead and give us a call, 360-373-3000. We will be doing deliveries. Right now, we will be delivering, I believe we already have over 100 meals set to deliver. And my cook says we have capacity to over 300 meals. So give us a call, get on the route. You can also come downtown to our building, 419 Park Avenue, and you can pick up the lunches there. So on Monday, we will have lunches for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It'll be lunch/dinner and snack. And then on Thursday, you can pick up dinner for Thursday and Friday. All right. The menu is on the screen, so go ahead and check that out. Cook has definitely put her... well, I don't want to say if she put her foot in it, right? That doesn't sound really tasty. I don't even know why people say that. Kind of weird. You know, I should have grabbed my cell phone so I could watch the chat while I'm on here. I'll go get it in a second. But what I wanted to talk about today, I actually picked up a client in over a year, right? We have 3 G2 vehicles. We've got a Kitsap transit van. We have other folks that use their own vehicles. So I don't typically pick up clients. So it's been a long time since I've done that. But today, this evening, I had to. That's how busy we were, right? And I thought it was really important, and it really kind of fit in with my experience earlier today. So I was invited to a restorative circle. So shout out to Christina Rourke and... who runs that circle? Dominic was facilitating the circle this evening. I'll say other names because, you know, I'll forget names. But I was invited to this circle and ended up reading a quote from Bell Hooks. And I could choose from 4 quotes. And I couldn't read 3 of them because I didn't identify with them. They had to do with love. And I kind of feel like love. If you hurt someone, kind of what I was interpreting the quotes as, if you love someone, you don't hurt them. And I don't think that's true. I don't agree with that. I think the saying, those that are closest to you are the ones that can hurt you the most. Those are the ones that you actually really care about. You don't care about strangers, the people that you don't know. I think that's more accurate, right? And then I think about the traumas that men and women face, whether we're talking about friendship love, parental love, relationship love, whatever it is. And I think for the most part, humans do the best they can to love each other and to love people. And love isn't perfect. And so they're going to make mistakes. They're going to hurt each other. And I think that's just part of it, right? It's almost like light and dark, right? You can't have dark without light. You can't have light without dark. So I kind of believe that you can't have love without hate, or you can't have love without hurt, right? You can use either one of those interchangeably. So I couldn't read any of the first 3 quotes because I didn't agree with it, but I could read the last one. And, the things that are said in the circle are, private to the circle. So I won't talk about what was said, but what I will talk about is kind of the topic. And the topic was reflecting on your ancestry. And, as you know, I went into foster care pretty much at birth. And then was adopted, went back into foster care. And so when you think about your recent ancestry, your parents, your grandparents, I can kind of pull on that, but they're not actually my blood family, right? And I was sharing that, in grade school, it was really difficult when people would do their family tree. And folks would say, oh, yeah, you need to do your family tree. Well, your mom goes here and your dad goes there. It's like, well, I don't have a mom, So that's hard on a kid, right? And so we were reflecting on that. And one of the questions ended up being, what was like an attribute that you got from your ancestor? And my answer was centered around feeling like, I really didn't belong to any significant group, right? I do obviously belong to certain groups, but kind of feeling like I'm an outlier, right? Kind of a loner. And so I think of G2 as that place to bring people together that feel like they don't fit anywhere else. And I feel like that's how Steps to Success was, and other programs and things that I have either built or nurtured or taken care of, or even friendships that I've made over the years, opening my home to various folks. And I didn't know what to expect from being in a restorative circle and kind of going through. I've been in the circle where they're kind of going through the indigenous ways where they're, giving honor to the land and to the people and whatnot. I've been through the process of it, but talking about something that required me to be so reflective, I haven't done that. And the topic it definitely kind of threw me for a loop, but it was great, right? But it definitely had me really thinking. And so with that, I do believe the answer that I gave, because my father, of course, as you know, adopted me, as I said, when he was 24 and I was 5, and he never married and adopted so many more children. And then being in the school and a principal and a school teacher at so many different schools, the community loved him. The kids loved him. The parents loved him. And so, I talked about all the Christmas cards that we would tape up on the walls during the holidays. And that was my dad. And so I very much like him in that way. And so that's what G2, its core, its spirit, that's a lot of what G2 is about. And so, this was 2 hours. So it went from about 6 to 8 p.m. and got off, and I sent Christina a text and, said, hey, thank you for the invite. So it was awesome. It was a good experience. And, immediately it was like, all right, got to go for a ride. So I didn't get a lot of time to sit with it post. I got to reflect a little bit, but not to the depth that I wanted to. And then I had to go and pick up a client at Kitsap Mental Health. And, because I haven't picked up a client in over a year, I know what it is we do, right? I can quote the mission. I can tell you what our vision is, what we value. Self-sufficiency for all Kitsap County residents, using unique solutions to overcome the challenges that face folks that are low income and have significant barriers. But the fear of the client leaving the safety of being at KMH and being afraid to go home, being afraid to go back to that environment. All the triggers, right? Where do you go? Who do you call? And so we're driving back, and one of the things, how our partnership with KMH came about was the fact that we were, our value was, service with dignity, right? It wasn't just a ride. When you think of the continuum of care, a lot of people don't think, well, it's just a ride. You're just picking someone up and dropping them off. And it's so much more than that, right? The politeness, the conversation, should they want it, the safety in driving, right? I know when it's icy or it snows, I don't drive. But if someone else is driving, or even if it's just regular conditions, if they're driving too fast or erratic, right, that makes me anxious. And so even how you drive a client is important. And I think people don't really realize how important the transportation piece is. And so you're picking up someone and you are either taking them sometimes to KMH or to Salvation Army or the Rescue Mission or wherever or you're taking them from that location and you're taking them back home or to some other location. And that causes a lot of anxiety for a lot of people, quite a bit. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. And you kind of feel like you're trapped. And was your time there enough to keep you clean, in this situation? So it's so much more than transportation. And so, talked about the weather, right? And how hot it was and how hot it's going to be, right? And of course, they're in air-conditioned space. And so coming out, into the heat, it's like, oh, it's hot. I hear it's going to be, 108 tomorrow, I think I heard. And clients come from all different spectrums. So wealthy, homeless, low income, just the spectrum is there. And so you don't know if you're taking a client back in this environment to a place they may not have air conditioning. So it's 108 degrees and it's smoking hot. And so all these things are kind of swirling through, their head and their concerns. One of the things that was a concern was, do I have my numbers in case there's a crisis? I call 911. I call 211. Who do I call? Am I going to have to call someone? So trying to make sure that you have the tools is important for her. And so she's kind of going over the tools with me and asking about some other numbers that she gave. Oh, hey, Cynthia. People hurt people, however, it should not be intentional. If you're saying you love or care or respect someone, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so she's wondering about this particular agency, and she's like, "Well, if I call these folks, will they? Do they just talk to you? Will they pick you up? What will they do?" And so my advice to her was, why don't you give her a call? Give them a call when you're not in crisis and just ask them, how does their process work? How does it work? And she was very comforted by that, right? Because it was a solution. It was something she can do. She didn't have to wait until she was in crisis and then wonder what kind of service she would get or receive if she got any help at all. So that was helpful. And so we're driving. And you know how it is here in Kitsap County. Not a lot to do, especially on the weekends. And so it's important to, sorry about that. It's important to have things to do, to be engaged, right? They say idle is mine. And home environments aren't always the best environments, of course. And so that is a concern. And so I told her a little bit about what we do and gave her our card and told her about some other resources. I just told her to reach out. And, this wasn't even a long drive. It was only about, maybe a 7-minute ride in total. But it's so important to, acknowledge people and see people and not get caught up in the, the minutia of getting the job done, right? It's hot, it's busy, there's so much on your plate, you got to get to the next thing. But you need to be present with the client that you're with. And it was really important, I think, for me to reconnect in that space with the purpose of what G2 is and what it strives to be. And it just seemed so perfect to go along with the restorative circle, right? So I'm thinking about that, and it's got me thinking about, things I hadn't really thought about, ancestry and why am I who I am? Why do I do the things that I do, right? Very interesting. And it was nice to kind of have that confirmation that, hey, this is what you do and you know why you do it. You know why it's important. Yeah, I thought it was great. And so the team is, they tell me, oh, sorry, Mr. Cameron, we didn't want you to have to, leave the house and, go and do this run. But, right now, literally everybody else is tied up. And I was like, no worries, right? I got a good team. They don't want to bug me. They know I'm doing other things. I was supposed to be on the podcast, right? It's like, don't worry about it, right? The client comes first. And it was perfect. It was perfect timing for me. And it's those times like that. I think for those of us that provide, that do service work, it's those kind of moments like that propel us and get us through to the next one, right? It gets us through those tough times. It makes it all worth it. I tell folks I very rarely set an alarm because I look forward to the next day. I look forward to helping someone work toward being the best version of themselves. to work across that spectrum of self-sufficiency, building their confidence and self-esteem, finding that space where they belong. And man, it's great. So it was good. It was really good. There were a couple of different things that I had planned to talk about. So I always have like 2 or 3 topics. It's like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this, I'm gonna talk about that. And I actually was gonna go in on some some really hard stuff tonight, right? I was so before the restorative circle, I was going in on it was going to be a hard broadcast, right? I was going to say some pretty hard things, and that's where my mindset was, right? I'm hot, I'm angry, you know. And I just seen some things, current events that need to be talked about, right? And they need to stay current. We need to stay current. It needs to stay in people's minds. We cannot get complacent right now, so we have to stay vigilant and ever ready. But my mindset was so very different. Matter of fact, my mindset was even that way when I went into the restorative circle, right? I didn't know really what to expect. You know, I had some preconceived notions on what it was going to be, and it wasn't that at all. And then when you get in there and you need to share, you know, you're in here with all these folks, and you know, a lot of them I actually didn't know. Yeah, I'd say about maybe half I knew. And you're already kind of sharing some pretty deep things about yourself, right? And you can pass, or you can share, or you can decide to what degree you want to share. And so for me, I am normally a very quiet person. I think it is a tremendously powerful to listen, and I feel confident in being heard when I need to be heard. So I don't often speak a lot because I'm trying to learn from the people that are around me and what they say, and trying to analyze why they're saying or why they believe what they believe. And so that's just my perspective on things. So if you see me in a meeting with a bunch of people, unless I'm facilitating that meeting, I'm pretty quiet, right? I know what my opinions are, and I don't always need you to know what my opinions are, right? You knowing my opinions doesn't validate me, so I'm not worried about that. But I do want to hear what you have to say. I do want to listen. I do want to hear. And when it's time for my perspective to be in, or I feel like I need to add something to the conversation, I can do that. And oftentimes I will. Now, there are some times when I feel like Shaylin, shout out to Shaylin, where it's like, you know, you don't owe folks anything and you don't have to share anything to them, you know. But I think that's important. And I've been in so many meetings where people are jockeying to have their voices heard. And some of that is, it may be a space where they actually get to have their voices heard. And in many other spaces, that is not an option for them. And so it's just kind of coming out. And I recognize that too. I know there's limits, right? We, you know, want to try to share the space and make sure that everyone is heard. And sometimes you could say, you know, let's not beat a dead horse. Sometimes people just have to say what they have to say. And so I can respect that. And so for that, that's always kind of been my philosophy is, you know, I could be the person in the room that sits back and listens because I can get what I need from that, where someone else can get what they need by speaking. But in this particular situation, right, you know, it's kind of designed for you to speak. And again, you can decide to what degree you want to speak and share. And, you know, I'm like, man, so do I say something superficial? Do I give something of substance? You know, do I want to be vulnerable with people I don't even know? I don't know. was really weird, right? It was great that I wasn't first, so I can kind of listen to what other people were saying. And it was like, you know what? I've been invited here. I've been asked to participate in the opening ceremony. I apologize, these allergies. And so I said, you know, I'm going to go ahead and feed me, right? And, you know, it's a restorative circle. It's about, you know, restoring yourself, restoring, you know, relationships, community, each other. All those things can happen. None of those things can happen. Something in between. So it's like, you know what? Let's go. So, you know, I went in and I shared. And what I noticed was, you know, I'm answering questions that I hadn't really thought about, right? And not only have I not thought about them or not thought about them in quite that way or to that depth, I have to share it out to other folks. And I find myself wondering, like, is that my thought? Is that how I really believe? Or is that how I believe right now? Do I need to reserve the right to maybe change how I feel later? I don't know. It was really interesting. So I shared. And like I said, it was about ancestry, right? Which was really interesting. And as I told you, with my background, I definitely feel some kind of way about that, right? I have some traumas that I have to process and work through. You know, some abandonment issues that I even still carry into adulthood. So it's like, man, all right, I'll share. I'll talk a little bit. I'll go there. And I'm listening to the other stories, and it's like watching like a thriller, you know? And it's like, wow, whoa, you know, people are, you know, really going in and sharing. And these perspectives are so varied, you know. And this person thinks this way, and this person thinks this is important, and this is their value set, and this is how their framework was framed. This was their domestication. This is how they became who they are. And, you know, sometimes you see yourself in each one of their stories. And, you know, I noticed I was doing some head nodding as some were telling some stories. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I identify with that. So I definitely encourage you to participate in one of the restorative circles. I think it can definitely be cathartic and do what it's meant to do. Obviously, that means you're going to need to process some things. So, you know, I encourage you, if you start the work, to continue on the work of personal development. But it was good. And so I'm definitely very thankful for who I am, for who my father made me. I say he made me. Raise your child in the way in which he should go. Yada, yada, yada. I heard that quote tonight, right? My dad used to say that to me all the time. So I like to think I have some of his traits. And I'm thankful for G2. And, you know, I was talking with Raymond earlier today, and we were having a conversation as he represents himself, as we all do where we go. But he also represents G2. He wants to do the best that he can. And he knows that other people are constantly watching him. And one of the things that I shared with him that I constantly share, and what was really honorable about my conversation today, and this was after Drayton's event today. Shout out to Poverty Management. I think when I left, they had 17 people vaccinated. But I had a conversation with him, and actually, I think the conversation was yesterday. Oh, so much stuff has happened. He was telling me how he was advocating for clients where he's at. And he wanted to tell me and show me the lessons that he felt that I taught him, and explain, and through story, this is what happened. This is how I dealt with it. This is why I did that. This is why I think it's important. I was really honored by that. And he had been wanting to tell me some of these things for a few days. And so we had a chance to talk for about an hour and a half. Well, we've talked for about 2 hours. It's like, hey, you got 5 minutes? And it's like 2 hours. It's like that with a lot of folks that I talk to. Like I definitely am my father's son. I used to watch his friends leave. They'd come over after church or holiday or just whenever. And, they get that, it's like the let out at the club, right? Old folks do the same thing. So they get to the point it's time to go. So they go and they stand at the door. And 40 minutes later, they're still trying to leave. And it's like, are y'all leaving or not? Like, seriously, y'all, just sit back down. It's so crazy to watch adults do that, right? Until you become that adult doing the same thing. It's so funny. But what's interesting, and Raymond will be the first to tell you, right? He considers me his mentor, which is a tremendously honorable thing, and I take that very seriously. Because you don't get to mentor anyone; they choose their mentors, and through the discussion, he wanted to show me how far he had come in who he was, how he thought, how he processed information, how his empathy and sympathy has grown, and how he can apply that in a tangible way to serve clients. And he had so many points. I think he gave me things that, you teach all the time. Like I love teaching. So I love teaching at the college. I love teaching for the military, for the Navy. It doesn't matter. I love teaching, right? So I tend to do that all the time. Girlfriends will tell me that too. It's like, can you turn that off? Not perfect. Not perfect. But you are teaching. And the thing is I tell other people, folks are watching you, right? They're always watching you. And so if you're representing something, sometimes they're watching you for good reasons. Sometimes they're watching you for bad reasons, right? They're watching you for your fall. They're watching for you to be incongruent. See, I knew he wasn't like that, right? They're looking for that. And many are looking for something. They're looking for hope. They're looking for stability. They're looking for direction, right? And so they need to see congruency. They need stabilization, consistency. So to hear that back, and he talks about when he first came to G2 and I took him on a walk, and, I walk with my hands behind my back. Like, who is that? Who's Superman's villain? I can't think of who it is right now. Shoots the mega beams out of his eyes. But he walks with his hands behind his back. And so I do that. It's one of my things. Not that I got it from him. It's just one of the things that I do. When I used to teach at the college, walking from class to class, because you don't have a permanent classroom. You know, you've got 5 minutes to get to the next class, oftentimes, or 10 minutes. I would do a lot of advising. So students would walk with me. Oftentimes students would carry my bags, and they're talking about their grades or classes they should take or just whatever, right? Often made me late to class. But my philosophy on that was what that student needed at that time and in that space was more important than, me walking into a classroom or being there on time, even though that is a thing. It's like, do as I say and not as I do. You students need to be on time to class, but I can be late. But even there's a lesson, right? And the lesson is it doesn't matter if other people are not prepared. Your job is to be prepared at all times. So even in that, I can make that a teachable moment. And so I love teachable moments. And it's kind of what I mean by, always kind of in teacher mode. Oh, that's a teachable moment. Oh, that's a teachable moment, right? And so he's, recanting all of these teachable moments that he is now able to draw on and use in his new position. And it's like, wow, the road is rough. It's bumpy. Sometimes you got to build the road before you can drive over it. And for someone to be able to reflect that and say, I do this, or I dealt with this situation, or I feel this way because of what you taught me in this, in regards to this. I try to treat this person based on that. I'm able to be more empathetic, more patient. One of the things I was saying in the restorative circles, I think of G2 as the place for the fourth and the fifth chance, right? We know that society doesn't give everyone second chances. Sometimes they only give them a second chance. Other times, the next chance you get, you'll never get to where you were before. Sometimes, you needing a second chance wasn't even your fault. Or sometimes you might need a second chance. And while on that journey, something happens that's outside of your control. And folks on the outside look at it like, well, that was your second chance. And it's like, yeah, but I was doing everything right. So I kind of look at G2 as the fourth, fifth, sixth chances. Now, not to say that we don't have policies and procedures that you have to adhere to. It's not just a free-for-all. But when you're ready, that's what my dad did for me when I left home. When you're ready, go put your pride up on the shelf and call. And it hurts. Ooh, I was so angry. But he was right. And so our job is to plant the seed. Hopefully it germinates, but flowers grow at different speeds and different rates. So it's definitely a blessing to be able to have someone come back and share with you the lessons that they've learned, that the time that you spent with them was time well spent. And you don't always get that back, especially as someone who is, providing services to others, right? Oftentimes it can be thankless. People struggle with accountability. It's your fault, and it is what it is. There's hard days, there's good days. But that is a gift. So I do want to acknowledge that and honor that. So I'm thankful to G2, and I'm thankful to all the people that make G2 go. I was out last night. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait till it gets cool. I'm gonna go out here, and then so I'll get all these little crazy ideas, right? Oh, I had no idea. First off, that it was about to be this hot. I wasn't paying attention to the weather. It snuck up on me, right? And people are saying, "Oh, it's gonna be crazy hot." I'm like, "Oh, really? Oh man, okay. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Well, we're gonna make shirts for these the basketball tournament, right? And we're gonna have Tasia's company make these T-shirts." It's like, "Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll go to Walmart. I'll buy a bunch of T-shirts for the drivers and for the staff at G2, and I'll get them, get our logo put on there. I'll get the colors that they want, and they'll have some nice light T-shirts to wear while it's nice and hot." Yeah, I got a great idea. So I get in there. No one ain't got no business shopping, right? One, I'm gonna spend too much because I'm happy. Two, uh, I'm like in there, and things. Okay, so every season is something else, right? You get a new flavor. Oh, it's pumpkin spice. It's this flavor, right? I don't know what it'll be this fall. It's caramel, or it's a new color. I don't know what the color was this year. Was it like teal or something like that? Well, now it's like this stretchy fabric, right? So it's like, can I screen press a stretchy uh, shirt that's got like this anti-wet, material, so it's kind of mesh, but it's stretchy. I'm like, what am I looking at here? So it's just so weird. So I ended up having to call Stephanie, like, Stephanie, can I logo this? Is this logable? She's like, why are you at Walmart? Like, well, first she said, where are you? I'm like, I'm at Walmart. Like, what are you doing? I'm trying to buy shirts for everyone. Like, why did you just not leave that to me? Like, well, because I got happy. So, I get happy, go and spend money on the team, right? I mean, that's happiness for me is spending money on other people. So I was like, yeah, this would be perfect, right? So she's like, all right, look, I will look for the shirts. She doesn't know I still spend $200 in shirts. So we'll see what we can keep and what has to go back. But I want people to be cool, and kind of have what they want. I appreciate them. I remember helping a client, an old student of mine, and came to get some help. And so I gave her some counsel and some advice, and I sent my driver Tony to go and pick her up. And so Tony ended up picking her up and taking her around, doing what she had to do. And so she and I were talking again, and she had remarked that the conversation that she had with Tony was really helpful and really powerful. And it really helped her during a tough time. And I didn't really get a chance to talk to Tony. So I saw Tony Thursday night. And I'm driving down the street and he's there. And so, I pull up and I say, hey, Tony. I just got a text from Stephanie. She's like, I do now. I guess I'm in trouble. I only spent $200. I couldn't help myself. But, I pulled up and, said hi. Said hi to Brandon. And I said, Tony, come over here. And so I'm in my car. He comes over to the passenger side. And I stick out my hand. I say, I want to talk to you. And I shake his hand. And now Tony is, I think, I don't want to say he's older than what he is. I think he's 56, 57. Definitely, my senior. Stephanie says 150 too much. Look, I still have the receipt. Oh, dang. Okay, she's listening with you. Rob's supposed to have my back. And so he's like, hey, what's wrong? What did I do? Like, he really has a concerned look on his face. And I said, I didn't even tell him he didn't do anything wrong. I just went into the story. And I said, you picked up a client the other day, and the look on his face is like, what did I do? You know, how did I mess up? You picked up a client the other day, and you were having a conversation with this client. Now you can hear him, it's racing in his mind. You know, well, I picked up like 30 people. Who are we talking about here? What are you talking about? And I said, the client reported to me that your words, your conversation with her were tremendously helpful and powerful for her in a time when she really needed it. And I said, thank you. That's what G2 is supposed to be about. And I'm glad that you are embodying that. And he is one of our newest drivers. And his shoulders relaxed. And he's like, oh man, I thought I did something wrong. And then he was really honored by that. So once he saw that it was a good thing, you know, he's like, wow, you know, thank you for telling me that, you know. And so I think that's important that we tell folks that they're doing a good job. Even if they don't always do it perfect. And they are going to make mistakes from time to time, and it can be really frustrating. You know, people are who they are, and we have our own capabilities, and sometimes we're way more capable than some of the people that may be around us. But acknowledging that can be very powerful and motivating for them to continue doing the good things and to work on the things that they need to work on. And so, you know, just kind of think about that, the circle there, right? So I did that for Tony the other day, and then Raymond did that for me yesterday. And now I'm thanking all of G2 today. And that continued cycle of upliftment and support is it's imperative to the mission. Without that, the mission, I do not believe, goes. The saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You know, well, everybody's not tough. So when the going gets tough, most people bail out, fall down, can't keep up, quit. I hear all the time, you got a good team. You're damn right I do. And sometimes they make it look easy, and it is anything but. I was just telling someone the other day that we could be 4 separate organizations. We could be a transportation company solo. We could be a food organization solo. We can be a training program solo. We can be an education company solo. And yet we're doing all of these things at the same time. And the reason being is those are the things that we identified that we could do, that we felt there were some gaps or some synergies that we could capitalize on, like transportation more than just giving someone a ride from A to B. It's that service with dignity. It's that friendliness, that engagement, if they so desire. That continuum of care. That care doesn't end when they leave KMH. That there is that support that still extends when they leave or when they go. That they can be tied to other resources. $57. Yeah, who is Superman's villain? Darkseid. That's who it is. It's Darkseid. So, because I walk around with my hands behind my back. And so Raymond was saying that he is now doing that which is so funny, right? And for whatever reason, that posture to him has made a serious impression on him. I don't really know a better way to say it, but he talks about it all the time. And for me, so people know, there is actually a purpose on why I walk that way. And body language is important. And sometimes people take the folding of the arms, they can misinterpret it, right? You can fold your arms to give yourself comfort. You can fold your arms because you're trying to protect yourself. You can fold your arms because you're angry, right? You can derive all these different things, and verbal and nonverbal cues can send people off into a tizzy. For me, when I walk with someone and my hands are behind my back, what I'm saying is that I'm not a threat to you, and that I don't feel threatened by you. I don't feel like I need to protect myself with you. And sometimes that's not necessarily the case, right? So I'm not saying that you don't have situational awareness, because that's important. But I think that is important. Does that make me the son? Yes. All right, if we're gonna rename everyone, this could get pretty crazy. So I don't think Stephanie wants to be Mother Goodness, though. Although Mother Goodness is quite evil and kills a lot of people, so I don't know about that. But I think that is important, right? Folks are coming with anxieties, trust issues, just so many different things, and I can identify with that because I'm typically one of those people, and I definitely was one of those people, which is why when I was at the college, I enjoyed the fact that I actually was in a very unique position. So when I started at OC, I was an advisor, right? So I would see people when they came in. All right, I'm new. I want to go to college. I want to be a crime scene investigator. I remember that because that was a popular show when I was an advisor. And folks would come in squeamish around blood, hated math. They want to be a CSI because they saw it on TV. Like, okay, let's have a conversation. I advise you decide, but let's have a conversation. So you don't like blood. You hate the police. Okay. All right. You want to be a CSI? Okay. You sure? There might be another profession there for you. But when I first started at OC so many years back, I was bitter and angry, and I didn't want anyone to tell me anything. I didn't trust anyone. I was already making, $25, $30 an hour, being a construction worker. Basically was starting over with nothing, and was frustrated. So you guys can't tell me anything. I just need this piece of paper so I can make my money again and get the hell out of here. So I wanted to be a different type of advisor. So, I actually had a coffee maker in my office. Folks could come in and have a cup of coffee and we could sit and talk, right? Try to get to what it is your actual needs are, right? We often have these preconceived notions on, well, if I just do this, this will fix my whole life. And now you might actually go down a road for about a year, year and a half, 2, 3 years, and then just, realize that was the wrong road. So if we can figure that out now, and it's going to save you a bunch of time that you already feel like you don't have. And then I started teaching. So now I'm seeing people in the beginning, right? Entry-level courses, middle courses, started teaching end of degree courses. Then I started doing the internships for the business program. So now I'm seeing students that are in their second year getting ready to finish up their degrees, and now they're practicing, right, their skills. They're applying what they've learned in the field. And so I'm meeting with their employers. I'm signing off on their objectives. It's great. And then after about a year, I'm starting to see those same students that came in at the beginning or in their first or second quarter come in and get their certificate or their degree signed off on. And so I was in a unique position to go on journeys with students from the beginning, the middle, and to the end. And I would have a ton of students that would come back just to let me know how their grades were, how they were doing, check in, because they needed that consistency. And I didn't have that when I was at OC. And I didn't have it because I didn't seek it out. It wasn't that it wasn't there, because some of the great counselors were there, right? I think John Babel was there. Teresa might have been there, Teresa Jones. So there's some longtime folks that were there, right? Oh, my calculus teacher was still teaching there when I was there. It's like crazy. It's like, dang, you were my calculus teacher, and I'm sitting in here at a faculty meeting with you. This is pretty weird. But again, that's kind of how I see G2. If you were willing to engage, and if that's what you need, everybody needs something different. Rob is saying he just got a ride, so he is out. It is, what time is it? I can't even see my watch. It's so dark. Oh, it's midnight. So as you can see, we are still doing the work. And he just got back from sessions. So, that's what it takes. That's the dedication, right? And whoever needs a ride right now, for whatever reason, they really need that ride. They really need that ride, which is why we're on it. Now, again, to just speak about the power of the people at G2. He's coming to Bremerton. I live in Bremerton. Rob lives in Port Orchard. So he's coming all the way from Port Orchard to take this ride. And I will continue to do the podcast, but I'm not always doing the podcast, and that still happens. That's dedication, right? That's what that looks like. I'll have to interview Rob and let him, I'll try to pick his brain and try to get him to articulate why he does that and what he gets out of it. Don't answer it now, Rob. Because sometimes volunteerism is difficult for folks. And sometimes really difficult for Black folks. And a lot of that can be centered around, or some of those reasons can be centered around, when I was growing up as a kid, I was responsible for my younger siblings, right? So, even if I wanted to volunteer, I couldn't. I've got to go and take care of the family. Some, families of color have to go to work to support the household, right? Or be home and watch the kids, so mom or dad can go and work that second or third job. And what can get missed is, so you want me to spend some of my free time and not get paid for it? Well, I can't do that. Now, my pushback on that would be, it's like making time to go to the gym, right? It's not that I don't have time to go to the gym. It's, do I make priority to go to the gym? Do I cut something else out? Does that mean that I don't get to watch The Blacklist or some other show I want to watch, or do some other kind of activity, or reorganize my time, become more efficient with my time management? So trying to get folks to see the intangible benefits of volunteering, of being connected, kind of like the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Paint the fence doesn't make any sense. Why am I doing this over and over again? I need to be here. I'm already behind. I could be making money. Opportunity cost, right? It's always a thing. And, people like Rob and Raymond, Stephanie, Ernest, Tony, I can go on and on and on. Those folks see the power of volunteerism, and it's feeding their spirit in a way that sometimes they can articulate, some of the things, and in other ways they can't articulate it. But you hear me talk about Maslow's hierarchy and talking about self-actualization and being the best version of yourself. And Maslow's is not a straight line, right? Shelter, food, then you start kind of working on some higher level things. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in that order. And so my philosophy, and the philosophy that I have instilled into G2, is, well, your shelter can be somewhat unstable, but you could still be working towards self-actualization. And what that looks like is you're not just going and receiving services places, but you can also be that service provider at some of the same places that you are receiving those services from, right? You become a subject matter expert on who to talk to, how to fill out and complete the process, what the pitfalls are, who not to talk to, what not to say, how to talk, how to speak. So you learn oral communication, you learn written communication, you learn computer skills. You understand how to follow directions, follow processes, teach someone else. You begin to start leaning on some of your learning styles, whether they're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Shout out to you, Raymond. But if you tell someone, hey, come and volunteer, you're going to learn about your learning styles, and you're going to learn communication. It's like, I already know how to talk to people. I ain't got time for that. I need $15 an hour. That's a lot harder, right? And it's the people that are in search, that are looking for something, that are like, you know what? I've tried some of these other things, and I'll give it a go. I'll give it a try. And typically what happens is kind of kicks in for them. And it's like, oh man, all right. I see that. When I was at the college, one of the things that I thought was so messed up was, students were trying their best to get through their classes and get off campus as fast as possible. And the reason why I created a program there is you need to be on the campus. That's where all the resources are. That's where financial aid is. That's where BFED is. That's where you can get help with grants and scholarships. That's where the writing center is. That's where the math tutoring center is, science tutoring lab. That's where your professors are. That's where the advisors are. That's where the counselors are if you have crisis. That's where your extracurricular activities are. That's where your computers are. That's where your internet is. That's where other people that are doing the same thing as you are. And so when I would watch people packing up their bag 10 minutes before class was over just so they could get off campus and get to their car and get out before the parking lot gets, and they're not going to work. They just want to get home. It's like, but you're leaving. You're running away from all the resources. And even if you took a break for 15, 20 minutes and said, okay, I'm going to sit down here in the cafeteria and do my work, it would be done. And if you had questions, you could go to the tutoring center and it's done, right? You can go on with the rest of your day, guilt-free, feeling accomplished, being empowered to accomplish other goals and get things done. Cynthia says, yes, I talk to my clients about volunteering and it makes them with their self-esteem and self-worth. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Cynthia, what do you do? What do you say to try to encourage folks to volunteer in the absence of, monetary compensation? Because, that's always a challenge that I have, that we have. And that was, from even before OC for me. Trying to, get that buy-in for folks to give it a go. And, one of the things is a lot of times they're not there to see kind of the intangible things, right? You want to treat everyone the same and you do the best that you can, right? But if you are putting in more, then you get more, right? That kind of saying, you get what you put in, get out what you put in. And so I'm going to put you on the spot there, Raymond. I don't think you mind. But, Raymond, he came to G2 and like I said, it wasn't always easy. But he knew this was where his spirit was going to get fed and he was going to continue to go into the right direction. And there were people that tried to steer him away from G2. Oh, you should go and do this. There's a job over here. You could be making money. Why are you over here? And, he's older. So, he doesn't succumb to peer pressure like younger folks can, right? It's like, hey, y'all don't have to understand it. This is what I'm doing. So I'm not going anywhere. And while some of those folks that would say that to him aren't here, when he really needed it, G2 was able to do things that G2 doesn't normally do, right? So when his landlord was not willing to use the rental assistance program and, quite frankly, jerked him around and, said, oh, we're going to sell the house. Oh, no, we're not selling the house. And we want the rent and the deposit right now. Well, I don't know about you, but most people don't have $1,900 laying around. Or G2 able to do that for them. And that's not something that we do, right? We're able to provide that loan to him. And we could provide that loan to him because he has proven himself over time to be engaged and trustworthy, right? And to be working toward the mission. And so we can reward that. And so naysayers, folks that aren't around to see those things, they won't see it, right? And those are kind of those intangibles that can happen when you are really tied to something. Cynthia says, I share my history of it and how it's a two-edged sword. It helps you and it feels a need to. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I did it for years and still only more with my duties. The church basement on Fifth Street was where I fed the disadvantaged for a few years while attending Olympic College. I volunteered at my children's school, civil survival, lobbying for law changes, etc. Yeah, I mean it's a lot, and it's like, man, how do you have the time to do all that, right? And what did you get from that, Cynthia? How did that feed you? How did that propel you on your journey of personal and professional development? To make you the pillar in the community and and such a trustworthy person to the people that you serve today. What did that do for you? Because that's what people see and what they say about you, right? Raymond says, we speak the words of change to change the system as we speak and act differently, different from the norm. Basically, no paycheck can provide the spirit of change that has to come from within. Oh, that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. And I think people, we get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses, right? So it's like, okay, this person is doing 25 hours a week. So if I can't do 25 or 26, because I got to top them, then I can't do it. It ain't good enough. And it's like everyone's journey is different. So yeah, that person might be able to give 25 hours a week, but his situation or her situation is different. You giving 5 is what you can do. And it'll feed you in the way that it needs to feed you. So don't worry about the Joneses. Don't worry about the Joneses. Yeah, I wish I could, just kind of plug my USB into folks' brains and just download the answers. I wish I could do that to myself. Don't eat that cake. But, life doesn't work that way. And that's part of the journey. And part of being human is that awakening and that growth. That resiliency and persistence. And I think, sometimes people don't realize that some of the adversities that they go through, the habit building that's being built by showing up for an organization, doing a particular job at a certain time on a certain day, is building habits that are transferable skills that they can use in other aspects of their life, right? And they may not have had that, right? I can't do it for myself. I can't seem to get to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this time because something just always gets in the way. But they need me here to help feed on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4:00. And I've been doing that for 5 months. And now I can click it in my head that I do have that ability to do that because it is a choice. I don't have to go there and feed. Now I can use that as a transferable skill and use that at the gym. Said it helped you to stop looking at yourself and start looking at how to help others. Always had a heart for making sure people are okay. It was just intensified when I found that and need, and I filled it. We as people have a woe. It's me, woe's me mentality until we look outside ourselves. Yeah, you know what? That I even have that from time to time, right? Oh man, why me? Definitely when I fell off the scaffolding and destroyed my back. I mean, I was making more money as a construction worker than I was with a master's degree teaching at the college. And that was like 6 years prior to, when did I start teaching? In 2012, 2013. I was a bricklayer back in 1997, 96, 95, 96 time. And I was making more money in 95, 96 than I was making in 2017, 2018. Bitter, woe's me, why me? And I was in that space for a while, for years. But, like that story in the Bible, where the angel, I think it was Jacob, broke Jacob's leg or his back or whatever he did when he's climbing the ladder, he's fighting with the angel. That's what I think that God did to me. He had to take my body so I would use my mind so that I would become empathetic and sympathetic and serve others and not serve myself. Because I was full of myself. I was in the best shape of my life. Strong and chocolatey. Yeah. uh, but I wasn't a good person. I wasn't. I was definitely selfish. It was just about me. So I love the person that I am today, and couldn't imagine being that other person. I didn't even like that other person. I love this person, and it makes the days easier. And there's a resilience that comes from, again, working and serving others, and as you're kind of working through your own adversities. I think what Cynthia is saying is absolutely right. Right? We can get caught up in your situation, and it's like, look, I didn't put this weight on in 2 weeks. It's not coming off in 2 weeks. So you can think about it excessively every single day, and it's not going to come off any faster. So there's no point in you staying caught up in it. Go and do your workout, go and eat right, and go focus on other things. And by helping others, it's a good way to get your mind off of it. And you'll forget all about it because you're in your routine, because you've been learning how to do routine through your volunteerism. And you'll look up and 30 days have passed and you're like, oh man, I need to tighten up that notch on that belt. Oh man, that's awesome. Right? And it gets you out of your own mind. And then you're not beating up on yourself because, oh, there was a birthday party and you decided to go have the dessert. Oh, they decided to have pizza at lunch and man, it was smelling good. And I was hungry. So, I had 2 slices, whatever. You don't beat yourself up for it. Cynthia says that was a skill that taught you something, but it was not what he wanted for you. Yes, absolutely. He had a plan for you, one that helped you open your heart. Yeah, true story. And, my transferable skill is, I tell folks, when I was a bricklayer, I built buildings, and now I feel like I build people, right? And so that's that transferable skill. You come in, there's nothing there. It's just a dirt, on the ground, and you lay that block and you build a building, and it turns into Walmart or Safeway or an elevator shaft or a gym or some of the other things that I've built. And now it's directed toward people, and that it's not easy. And, the electrician has to come in at a certain time, and the plumber has to come in at a certain time. And if it rains, you can't lay. You got to wait. And if they don't deliver the materials on time, it stops everybody. And there's permitting issues. And, that's kind of how life is, right? You can give it a construction metaphor. And teaching someone how to navigate through all those pitfalls when you're reliant upon other agencies trying to help you out, or things that are going to take time that are outside of your locus of control. Understanding what you can change and what you cannot. I just wish that there was a way, and maybe this is the way. Right now, we don't have a lot of subscribers, but this stuff does last. It's not going anywhere. So my thought was, I was like, how do you tell this to folks where they'll listen to it and maybe take something from it, right? Because you can't always reduplicate conversations like this. It just won't. It's not organic. It won't come out the same way, right? Just won't be the right time, the right words. So, maybe this is it. Maybe I cut these up into smaller chunks, or maybe I even leave them like this and just try to direct people to listen to the stories, I don't mind being that example of what not to do, as well as being an example of what to do. I think both are important. People don't need to see just the perfect facade of you. They need to see the thorns and the bumps and the bruises also. So it can be a cautionary tale. It's why I tell the stories that I do, of the mistakes and the crazy thoughts. that's important. And people will tell you that. I've had so many students or clients or whoever tell me, well, I mean, you wouldn't understand, Mr. Cameron, you got this and that. You're good. You got Layla, and then you do this and you do that, and everything is like, no, it's not like that. It might look like that to you, but it's not easy. And you got to maintain it. That's the one thing about making progress. He's and to go ahead, like I was saying earlier, people are looking at you, right? And they're either looking at you, waiting on you to fail, or they're looking at you because they're looking at the example that they can try to follow and emulate, so that they can grow. So, that's a lot of pressure, right? To continue to be congruent and continue to be resilient, persistent, and have a moniker of success, because people are consistently watching you. Right. And understanding that whether they're being realistic in their observation of you or not, you are going to fall down from time to time because we are human. Right. And so many people, that fear to succeed or that fear to fail will keep them from, even trying, because I don't want to climb. If I climb that ladder, people can see me the higher I get, and now I gotta, what you gonna do? We all see you up there. You decided to climb up there. Now what you gonna do? You gonna stay there? You gonna fall down? You gonna climb up higher? So, a lot of folks are like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna stay down here on this lower rung. You can go up there if you want to. I mean, I'd love to be up there. It'd be great, but it's too scary for me. Too much can happen. Cynthia says, I think it should be turned into a class that earns credits in school, junior high or high school. Woo! Man, from your mouth to God's ears. I like that. How to volunteer and how to do civic and civic duties. Oh, man. All right. Man, that needs to be a pitch right there. I like that idea. Yeah, because you got to get them early, right? They need to understand the importance of that. And, our white brothers and sisters, a lot of them, especially in more well-to-do schools, that's a built-in, right? They're expected to do internships and volunteer, right? They're putting that on their cover letter and their resume, and they're building it from junior high up, right? I mean, that's a staple. They understand how important that is, and somehow that has to translate to our lower income and our Black folks, for sure. Where they can really see the value in that. And it is up to us to find that way. So just because something is hard doesn't mean that we don't try to make that change, for sure. Yeah, I like that idea. I think that would be cool. And, folks that made some achievements in their lives can talk about some of those achievements. Because again, I think that empowers them to continue forward too. And it's not that bad. I remember when I was younger in my 20s, right? I had the belief that I'm not paying car insurance because it's expensive and I drive careful. So I need money for other things like clothes and, gas and whatever else. So I'm not paying no car insurance. Like, how you going to make me pay car insurance? That ain't even cool, right? I mean, that's kind of the attitude of a 20-year-old sometimes. And then, start getting pulled over. All right, well, getting pulled over in Seattle. That is a $475 ticket for driving with no insurance. And then whatever you got pulled over for. And then the attitude is, well, I'm not going to pay that. They're tripping. So then you drive, it goes to collections. Eventually they suspend your license. Now you're driving dirty. Now you're afraid, now you're hitting back roads and doing all kinds of stuff, right? You get pulled over again. Now you got a warrant. It's like, that was me, that was stupid. It was like, when I got to the point where, okay, I got like $2,200 in collections for 2 tickets. Well, if I had just paid the $100 a month in insurance, I wouldn't have had to take the back roads. I wouldn't have had to be driving dirty. I wouldn't have had to have my heart pumping even more than it already does when the police are, behind me or across from me or whatever, right? And you know how it is when you're driving dirty. You just feel like the police know you're dirty, you know? Like, oh man, they're behind me. They turn you ever have them turn the lights on and go past you, you know, but then you think it's coming for you first, and your heart's just like, doo 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 doo. They gonna get me. That's it. My license is suspended. I remember I used to try to get in different lanes. Like I'm driving with my tabs expired. I don't want the cops to get behind me and see my tabs are bad, but I got to get to where I'm going. You know, I did all that crazy stuff when I was younger, you know? And then when I got to the point where it's like, okay, this is stupid, you know, paid the collections, got my license back and just paid the insurance, how freeing that was, right? Like I said, you know, my heart still gets really anxious when cops get behind me. But you know, if I'm hungry at 2 a.m, I go get something to eat. I don't worry about it. You know, I take the main roads. I don't take the back roads unless I'm taking a scenic route because I want to take the scenic route. And it's that peace of mind is just so different. And, you know, it's like, you know what? Paying the insurance ain't even bad. And then when something does happen and then the insurance works like it's supposed to, you're like, oh, thank God. Because all I had was, liability, right? And it's like, okay, so that's good if you hit somebody, but if they hit you and they don't have insurance, well, you know, that actually happened to me. And well, I was out, you know? So once I had more comprehensive insurance, like, man, this feels good. I can get in the car and actually enjoy the music and not worry about it. Cynthia says, absolutely. Now you begging for community service. Hey, it is what it is. I ain't too proud to beg. What's that? TLC ain't too proud to beg. Oh man. But yeah, no, I remember those days. And now, you know, just hop in the car. And, you know, folks even said, you know, man, why would you get the car that you have? You know, why would you buy a Chrysler 300? You know, it's kind of a police magnet, and then you put big rims on it. So, you know, they're going to target you and single you out, this and that. You know, it's like, yeah, I guess they could. And they're going to do that anyway, no matter what I'm driving. So I'm going to drive what I want to drive. But, you know, I don't drive crazy. Like my seat's not all laid back. You know how you see some of the brothers trying to be ultra cool. Their seat is laying in the back like they could lay down in it. It's like, how does that not even hurt your back? They're driving with one hand or they're driving with their knees. The music's so loud they can't hear anyone sitting next to them. Like, what are y'all doing? But see, now I'm old now, right? I mean, I obviously did these things, but you know, now I'm old. So it's like, I turn that down. Turn down that music. Damn kids. Saying I just use this how we get others to volunteer. Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, no, it's important. And then, you know, having Layla is important too. You know, I want to be able to drive with her in the vehicle and her be safe, you know, and her not have to deal with any issues. And, you know, I hope we never get pulled over again when she's in the car. Because Layla was in tears a year and a half ago when I got pulled over. And I couldn't understand it because we hadn't, you know, she's 7. So we haven't had that conversation with her at 7, right? And she was terrified. I mean, literally was crying because the police had pulled us over. And at 7, right, it's the dare, you know, it's the cops and the firefighters go up to the school and it's all fun and this and that. So it's like, what is she afraid of? Why is my baby crying? Why is she so terrified? And so I'm trying to comfort my daughter and talk to the officers, right? It's right here in Bremerton on Pacific. I wasn't even a mile away from my house. She was terrified. And she couldn't tell me why. I don't know if she'll remember it now. If she doesn't, that's good. I mean, obviously, we'll have to have those conversations at some point in time. But 7, yeah, no. Have that conversation with her at 7. I really want her to enjoy the innocence of her childhood Let her run, jump, and play and be silly and feel free. I think we all want that for our kids. She's got a whole lifetime of adulthood, Lord willing, to deal with all the ills of the world. So, but anyway, let me come out of the dark hole because I just went way down in there. But there was a point to that, which was, again, we're talking about volunteering now and what you can get out of it. And I think those lessons, I know those lessons are important and transferable and can be life-changing if people give it a chance, right? And have that buy-in and have that patience and understand that change, fundamental change that's going to stay takes time. It really does. Let me ask you something. She may have heard other children speak of it pretty deep. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I wonder, if her and mom or grandma saw something on TV or they were having a conversation. So I do wonder about that. But I think I talked to mom and grandma, and they don't really talk about that stuff. So yeah, it could have been something at school or something she saw on TV for sure. But yeah, she was terrified. That broke my heart. It really did. So what I wanted to ask guys was how does this format look? I'm out on my porch because my house is hot, so I don't have air conditioning. I've got one of those ones that stick in the window, so it's pulling in the hot air. So being out here on the porch is nice. I almost feel like what I need is a drink and a cigar would be perfect, but it's nice out here. It's probably it feels like 75 degrees. It's a light breeze. I mean, like barely moving the leaves. And since I have the lights off, the bugs aren't bothering me. So is it okay that you can't actually see me? Because even if I set the camera up out here, you wouldn't be able to see me in the dark. So it's like, okay, that's pointless. Is it weird? I'm a disembodied voice. Well, so the menu that's up there, again, we are working with the school district and we are making those meals. And you can see the first 2 weeks. Message is real. We hear you clearly. Good. Yes, it would. And I like it. All right. So if you have families that need food for their children, please let us know. They can come downtown to 419 Park or we can deliver it. And I feel like that's an equitable situation, especially since we're asking our parents who don't have the resources to feed their children adequately. And oftentimes what I see is like there's all these great resources, but they're not always accessible to people, right? Or the accessibility to them isn't practical. And so naysayers will say, well, there's all these great things, and if you want this, then pull yourself up from your bootstraps, and you would do it if you really wanted it bad enough. Some things I can agree with that, but I think there's definitely some nuance to that. That's not as easy and as clear cut as it sounds. So if someone needs to get on a bus and come down and get food, every day or twice a week, and that takes time out of their day, that time is precious, right? That's one of the things that we can't get any more of. And, our low income brothers and sisters need more time, which they can't get. So, this frees up their time that they can do other things, work on their personal, professional development, work, right? Spending quality time with their children, preparing meals, taking care of errands, and maybe even resting, because what people don't realize is low-income folks work way harder than everybody else. And it's like, well, you know what? If you just worked harder, you wouldn't be in your situation. It's like, yeah, you try doing what they do and live their life and work as hard as they do. And so by delivering the meals, it just, saves time. When your kids are home, they eat way more. So if any of you have kids in the house, understand that, it's great when they go to school and eat breakfast and lunch at school and they get home at 4 and you feed them from 4 to the time they go to bed. When they're home all day, it's like they got a bottomless pit. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you don't even eat like that at school. Why and how are you still hungry? And they're hungry. You gotta let the kids eat. And so, they're not eating because they're just greedy. They're eating because they don't have enough food, right? It's scarcity. And so I think it's important to me, for sure, from a transportation aspect. It's one of the reasons why we offer, why that's a big deal for us. And that's the primary thing that we do, is to try to give back people time, right? And again, we hope that they use that time wisely, but I also believe that it's important that you honor rest, because, the saying, there's no rest for the weary. Folks are weary. They're doing everything they can, right? We're all going through COVID. You've got, people going through it, addiction, alcohol, domestic violence, suicide, everything is up. Murder, violence, DV, and these things are going to be exasperated on our low-income families. And so, quote unquote, regular folk are struggling. So that's going to impact our community so much more. So anything that we can try to make their lives easier, I think is we need to do it. I think it's paramount, critical. So we have these meals here. Reach out and let folks know, so we can get them on the schedule. Again, we do deliveries on Monday and Thursday. You say I listen to talk radio shows. That is what this reminds me of. Is it a good talk radio show? I hope so. Hopefully we'll be doing some pretty big things. Of course, Tuesday night, I'm working with Karen Vargas and Deborah Jackson and Christina Rourke. And we're actually taking the podcast down to the Marvin Williams Center, and we're going to have landlords on the podcast. We're going to talk to them about the moratorium and the eviction assistance, the rental assistance, and kind of get their perspective. And then Jill Stanton, the executive director of the Bremerton Housing Authority, is actually going to come on to the podcast that same night and kind of talk about housing in Kitsap County from their perspective. So it should be a really powerful podcast this Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. So please let people know to tune in. I think it'll be an important one. I'm looking forward to continuing to collaborate with folks. One of the things that I want to do, Cynthia, is really uplift, especially our Black organizations and businesses, right? I'm still learning of more. My interview with Roosevelt Smith was really awesome and empowering. I'm actually going to interview another Black historian store owner who has a shop down in Brownsville over there toward Keyport. I never heard of this person or this store. So that's going to be Wednesday. I'm going down there to shoot footage inside her store. And then Mr. Roosevelt says he's got a lot of other people, historians, for me to talk to. So I'm super excited about that, honoring our elders. That was one of the things that was said in the restorative circle. One of the younger people that participated talked about, the importance of honoring our elders. And that's why you hear me, call, my elders like, Mr. Roosevelt. Mrs. such and such, and that's to be honorable to them. That's how we were raised. We couldn't call adults by our first name. And so my dad's friends, Pastor Rochelle, Miss Cherry, if I say your name, I'll say the first name. It's really hard for me to call you by your first name if you are like at my dad's level, or something of that nature. And that's another thing that I'm really thankful for. The people of G2, that has they actually respect that. So Raymond, Rob, those guys are older than I am, and they call me Mr. Cameron. And so I appreciate them honoring and respecting me in that way. And you can't make anyone do that, but the fact that they're willing to honor that and do that is important. I think that's those values are important. So I so look forward to hearing the stories and getting to know our elders, and capturing those stories in a contemporary format that people can go back and listen to, because we're going to lose our elders at some point in time. And when my dad passed, his recipes are gone. We had talked for years, like, Dad, you need to make a cookbook. And then I was like, well, what we need to do? We should just videotape you while you're cooking. Because, okay, so he would say, well, son, I can't make a cookbook because I can't exactly give you the recipe. I just do it because I just know how much needs to go in there. It's like, come on, Dad, how do you make it? Well, son, I can't really say. I just, it's a pinch here, and just, just do it to, okay, that's enough. That looks good. Do it to taste, And it's like, all right, so we just need to videotape you and capture it. And so we talked about it for a long time, and then he passed away, and now it's gone. A few of my brothers and sisters can make a dish or two of his, but no one can make it all. And his jambalaya was something else, and his artery clogging macaroni and cheese was ridiculous. I mean, his mac and cheese was a coronary. They should just call it coronary and cheese. I mean, it was ridiculous. It's delicious, but that dish was so bad, man. That had to be the worst thing ever that he made, as far as a health standpoint. That was just terrible. Now, Raymond says, I believe every individual has been in a place of hardship. The key is to never forget where they come from. I gotta expand it because this one is long. Did you type this or did you talk this? Never to forget where we come from. Compassion rules over everything. We never want to go back there. Having a warrior spirit. Most people believe warriors are always in an offensive state of mind. On the contrary, sometimes just standing is bravery in a warrior's purest form. Patience, young Jedi, patience. And if you don't have the answer to a certain problem, just keep quiet and stand, always anticipating the opportunity to strike. Sometimes a warrior might just do things as simple as humbling as just standing still. Patience is just as heroic as fighting for a just cause. Together we stand, as we gather together and grow together as humanitarian, as volunteers, allows individuals the opportunity to exercise their belief system. If the system is not working, volunteers has the opportunity to make change according to what each individual believes needs to be addressed. Volunteering gives us the freedom, or us as individuals, to freedom to do what we think is right without any bylaws or any other agencies telling us what we cannot do. Because if we're doing something against the agency or against the company, if we're under their payrolls. Wow, okay, that's deep. In other words, we cannot be fired. We don't collect a paycheck. We do what we do by the authority of our heart and soul. Freedom of our heart, and no man can stop any individuals who do what they do without collecting a check, is the utmost perfect form of freedom. Well, I guess I dropped the mic on that. I mean, I don't have anything to add to that besides just drop the mic. That's deep. That definitely needs to get captured, which is why I read that, right? Because, if someone does watch this later, they may not read that comment, but now they get to hear it. So It's one of the reasons why I read the comments when I have the opportunity to. So it's captured both ways. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Well, I forgot my thought. Oh, I'm watching the OC security guard drive past. He's doing his check on the dorms. Kind of awesome that they have dorms. You just drive around and check on it. Cynthia says, not always true. You cannot volunteer everywhere without application or rules. Yes, that is true. And that's what I was saying earlier, right? Like even G2 has policies and procedures that you have to adhere to. That's when I was talking about planting the seed and then not always germinating at the time that we want it to germinate, but it'll be on their time, right? And I see that all the time. You know, folks will come, they'll go, and they're gone for however long, and they'll come back. And sometimes they go away again, and they come back, and then they're ready. Sometimes they go and they never come back, but you hear about them or someone tells you about them in the future, and they're doing better. And, you know, my belief is that, you know, those seeds that every organization or person plants in that soil will end up growing at some point in time when those folks are ready, you know, to take care of their own gardens. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? This has been a great discussion. I you know, like I said, today, super hot and crazy. Didn't think it was going to go the way that it was. Had no idea what the restorative circle was going to be about. Just got invited to it, a few days ago. And then ended up taking a G2 ride, which just kind of solidified and put a cap on my reflection. And so I love it because the podcast that I do with Reverend Ellington. So we have we do a pre-talk, right? It's like, all right, so what's going on? And he and I like to go in on the current events, right? So we'll get in on critical race theory and all kinds of other stuff. You know, Rev he's something else. He cracks me up. And we'll have this conversation. And it's like, all right, so this is what we're going to talk about. And then either he or I will say something else, and then we're going. And I'll hit record, and then that's the podcast, right? And so that's happened more times than it hasn't, where we first started out, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. You do the research on this, and I'll do the research on that. This is how we're going to do it. And it just kind of changed, right? We're having this conversation. It's like, all right, we're going to talk about this. Like we talked about, I think we talked about gun rights the other day. And that was not the plan, right? And then we ended up doing like a 2-hour podcast on gun rights. So, but it was good stuff. So I look forward to that. Like we're going to get into like how to take care of firearms and laws and things like that. Because, you know, people do need to know how to do those things, right? We can cover all that good stuff. But man, this was a great night. It is a beautiful night. If you're able to sit out on your porch, you know, I would say do it. Get you you might even get a cup of coffee now. So I drink coffee even when it's hot. So you know, maybe sit on your porch with a nice beverage, whatever it is, iced tea, Kool-Aid, Crystal Light, which is what my dad drank. Oh, he loved him some Crystal Light, boy. That Crystal Light iced tea. Oh, God, let me get some of that Crystal Light, son. And would drink a whole pitcher to himself in like 2 hours. Like, Dad, what's going on? Oh, I was thirsty, son. I was thirsty. Like, all right now. So he's so funny. I definitely miss him. But yeah, you know, it's going to be really hot. So please take care of yourself tomorrow. Raymond, I don't know if you're driving tomorrow. I know you're going to be at the church recording. I will be speaking at New Horizon Baptist Church tomorrow morning for a little bit. It is their 15-year anniversary. So definitely come out and support them if you can. So I'll be out there for a little bit. Ooh, I will tell you, I'm there to support them, but I do not want to go tomorrow because what they're saying it's 108. That old church, it's probably gonna be like 120 degrees in there. So I'm like, am I even gonna even pretend like I'm gonna wear a suit jacket tomorrow, I'll be a fool. I might just pass out on the in the pulpit. I just oh. So yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think I should wear a suit jacket tomorrow. I might not even wear a tie tomorrow. It might be too hot for that. But yeah, I think it was a good one. Yeah, it was good for me. Definitely good for me. I think that's important too, to, get re-energized and refueled. So, and Miss Cynthia, I'm still waiting for you to come on now. You got to come on to the podcast because you put all that good stuff in the chat. I'm sure people would love to hear from you. Hear what you got to say. I know there's stuff that you have to teach me for sure. I am pliable. I promise I am pliable. And what's so funny though, as I always joke with Shaylene, I tell her, it's like, you always say no. And I was like, yeah, you asked me to do something. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. No, And then later on, an hour or some time after, it's like, yeah, okay. All right. So I'm like, nope, not doing that. No. And I end up doing it. So funny. It just cracks me up. Let's see where we're at here. Have a great night, Zulu. Out. Finally, I'll leave you with these final words. Iron sharpens iron. Anything else will dull you. Don't forget, you are supposed to be at the church tomorrow morning there, sir, to record me. So hopefully you are there for that. Yeah, that was nice, man. It feels good outside. It really does. So I actually talked about doing the podcast outside during the summer. We'll see what I have to do. We'll see how we can do that. Still might be still good for you guys to see. No, 11:30. I will not be there at 11:30. I will get with you one day, Gadget, one day. I will hold that to you. I will hold you to that. All right, it is 12:55. It is 75 degrees in Kitsap County. Slated to be 108 tomorrow. Please stay cool and take care. My G2 drivers, please consider putting a cold case of water in the vehicles and drive around and take care of our homeless population. If you see them, give them a bottle of water. They're going to need it. They may not be able to make it to the cooling shelters. Do take them to the cooling shelters if they are willing to go as you are out on your routes tomorrow. All right. Well, again, I appreciate you all. I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. And until next time. You never hear my favorite part. I usually always end the broadcast before then. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. That's my favorite part. All right, y'all.